Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a video here to talk about a newer thing DC's been doing recently that I am 100% down for. That is DC Compact Comics. Now, the picture I have here is for All-Star Superman. It's one of the three I bought. But I have some things to talk about with this. I really hate how expensive comics have gotten. You know, manga is still like $10 a volume. They're in black and white. They have cheaper newspaper type, not completely newspaper type quality of paper, but something not too far away from that. So, you know, they can produce that pretty quickly and pretty efficiently. It costs you like $11 a volume, which I'm cool with. I actually don't mind that, especially for series I love like Dragon Ball Super or Die Dark, which has a little bit better quality paper. But American comics, because it uses so much ink, they try to justify $5 a single issue, and then trades are like one free issue in whatever amount that they collect typically. But like Deadpool and Wolverine came out, and there was a trade paperback that was out that wanted like $35 or $40 for like 3 or 4 issues of those two appearing together. And I wanted to read it before the movie came out, but I'm just not going to dump that kind of money into that. I'm just not going to do that. That's not going to be worth it. I've read team-up comics enough to know that it's usually not for me. Even in a situation like that where I really like, you know, Deadpool and I like Wolverine. But when it comes to the standalone stories out there, for example, All-Star Superman, the one I have a picture of on the screen, I've always wanted to read this. I didn't want to pay $30 or $40 for a trade paperback. But I started noticing when my wife would look at her romance books and stuff when we'd go to like Barnes & Noble and stuff, I would work my way over to manga like I typically do, and sometimes I would peek at the American comics. And I started seeing these DC Compact Comics books as a new line, and they're in color. They're not black and white like I thought they would be, like the old Marvel Essentials books, or the DC whatever it was called. That was kind of the variation, their own kind of thing. They went up against Marvel Essentials. Marvel Essentials would give you like 20 issues or 24 issues, something like that, a book. And they were huge. They were like 500, 600 page books. They were big. They were made with newspaper paper. They were very cheap. When they came out, it was a lot. Versus the Marvel Masterworks, for example, that were super expensive. Or in this case, the regular DC trades and stuff. But I flipped over this All-Star Superman book when I saw it at Barnes & Noble and found out that it was $9.99. Dude, $10 for this story that I've wanted to read for a while. That if I got it digitally, I could get it for like $12, but I don't like buying digital. You guys know that. You've heard me talk about that before. You don't really own it, and you can be tricked into, if it gets removed, having to buy it again because of bullshit with Amazon. But comics look great on digital, but I still prefer physical. I just always will. $10 for this. And I started looking around and I was seeing other books, ones that I already own, like Joker, you know, from Brian Azzarello, or the Batman Court of the Owl story. They have like the entirety of the first 2 volumes of New 52 Batman, which is the Court of the Owl story, part 1 and part 2, put into one book. $10. Pretty hefty book, too. I started seeing other stuff that I grabbed. Deceased has a volume I grabbed up. Kingdom Come. I've always wanted to read Kingdom Come. Got to grab that up as well. For $30, I got 3 trade paperbacks. Not traditional style, but these. And again, they're in color. The only real nitpick I have about these DC Compact collections or whatever, even though they're in color, the art is a little bit faded looking. But I can take that. I'm cool with that, man. For what these prices are, for all of these stories I wanted to read, seeing how many weird things are out there. Like they did American Vampire Volume 1. I think did Joe Hill create that? Stephen King's son? I think he did. Somebody created that. It's a horror vampire comic. People love it. I've heard people rave about it forever. I think it's either gotten a show or it's getting a show. Watchmen is one of these. If they make Doomsday Clock, I'll absolutely buy it. Yeah, I mean, like, they're doing a lot of different stuff. I think I saw a Teen Titans book online. There's some other stuff like Batman Hush that I've always wanted to read that's listed as a soon upcoming release, and I will be buying that, God willing. I'm excited about this, especially as a big Batman fan. But the thing is, this would be such a good idea for like Superman comics and Batman stuff if you wanted to keep putting out like New 52 stuff for certain, big front leader Justice League characters or a really well-known run. You could put 2 volumes of trade paperbacks out a time. So like New 52, if it's 10 volumes for Batman, let's say, you could put out 5 of these volumes and it would be $50 for the entire run. Dude, your customers would love you for that. People like me that want to get back into more of the more newer release stuff. I don't even know what we're in right now as an era. Is it the all-in era at DC? Something like that? I've been so out of the loop because of how bad Batman, not Detective Comics, but Batman was during Rebirth with Tom King, that I just kind of started dissipating away from it. I started reading less and less because I wanted to work through gaming and movie backlogs and stuff. And now that I've completed a lot of that, I want to get back into comics. I've been reading a little bit of novels and stuff. I bought a few novels. But this right here is such a good idea, I know everybody's going to complain about how the pictures are more impactful when they're on a bigger, platform, like a bigger page or a bigger, like a bigger screen if you're reading it digitally. And I agree to that. I do. Again, comics look amazing on my Kindle. I love it, man. But I'm not willing to pay those prices for a digital file. I'm not. They should be $7 maximum, maybe $5. But yeah, dude, DC Compact Comics, killer idea. Whoever came up with this at DC, they need a raise. They really do. It seems like an obvious idea, but the thing is, to normies out there who think this is an obvious idea to make a cheaper product, they don't ever do stuff like this. Aside from, again, back in the day, you did, Marvel's Essential Comics, for example. Big old volumes of, Stan Lee stuff and John Byrne X-Men and all that. That is not something comic companies like to do because they lose out on money for that stuff. But it irks me because you think your shitty-ass knockoff Deadpool and Wolverine team-up comics that are God, there could be decades between the last times that they've, in that collection there that I was talking about, teamed up. And dude, it's not going to be worth that. It's not going to be worth $35 or $40. It's just not going to. My wife was shocked by that because that book looked like it was not even 90 pages, But this here looks like the size of a novel, this All-Star Superman comic. I started reading it. I really like it, man. I really dig this. Now, there are some books out there you're probably not going to get away with being able to do this format. Like, for example, Batman Arkham Asylum, the actual book Arkham Asylum from Grant Morrison, I think is who wrote it. The way some of the dialogue and stuff, if not all of it, are written from what I remember, you couldn't read that on a Nook or a Kindle for that matter. You're not going to be able to read it in one of these compact editions. So if that ever gets a release, I will buy it, but I'd be absolutely shocked if it did. But yeah, for these other stories that I wanted to get into, like All-Star Superman or Superman Birthright is another one I want to pick up. Kingdom Come, like I said, I bought that. I haven't read it. But Deceased, I loved. I was so excited for that. Dude, walked out of Barnes & Noble with 3 trade paperbacks of a lot of story for $30, dude. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. So anyway, pat on the back to whoever created this. God bless you so much. And DC, if you have a brain in your dumbass head, you will keep making these. And you'll put out, like I said, the New 52 line, the Rebirth line. Do it. You'd be an idiot not to do it. Seriously, people like me would eat this shit up. And do some of the stuff too, like Gail Simone's Wonder Woman. I've always heard really good things about. I would love to get into that, not just graphic novels like All-Star Superman. But yeah, put out that stuff, man. I want to read some of that stuff. But I'm just not willing to pay the prices on digital. I mean, if it's good enough, maybe I would. But I've heard so many variations of things about whether it's good or bad that I don't know. I'm a little hesitant about a lot of that. So anyway, what do you think about the DC Compact comics? Do you like these? Do you hate it? Have you tried them out? Have you bought any? Let me know all that down below too. There's not a whole lot of upcoming releases as far as I can tell, but I hope we keep getting some good stuff, man. I'm really excited about this. I'm glad it's happening. I'm glad I finally saw it because it's like a newer thing. So anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.